Have you ever lost your temper to the point where you didn't recognize the hurtful words you just spoke? Have you ever felt like a single careless remark from someone could shatter your entire day? Have you wondered why you get angry so easily, lose control, or let a stranger's action or a trivial matter pull you away from peace? If you've experienced this, know that you're not alone, and don't rush to think you're weak or lacking resilience. In truth, it's a natural part of being human. When emotions surge, reason often takes a back seat. But that doesn't mean you're doomed to live at the mercy of others, circumstances, or things that don't deserve your energy. There's one thing that, when understood and applied correctly, will stop you from losing your calm needlessly. Something that creates a gap between instinct and choice, between reaction and action. This was practiced thousands of years ago by Stoic philosophers, from Epictetus, a former slave with the wisdom of a king, to Marcus Aurelius, an emperor of Rome who still wrote nightly in his journal like a student of life. They knew that calm isn't a trait, it's a skill, and today you'll learn that skill. If you're seeking to become a calmer, steadier version of yourself, don't leave this video. Hit subscribe to join the journey of forging inner strength, because true peace doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from mastering yourself. Number 1. The importance of silence to control. Anger silence is a simple act that holds immense power in controlling anger. When you're angry, your first impulse is often to speak, to vent, to argue, to defend your ego. But the danger lies in this. Words spoken in anger don't come from reason, but from instinct, a primal part of the brain that sees any threat as justification to attack or defend. When you speak from that place, you're not in control. You're reacting like a pre-programmed machine. Stoics don't deny anger, but they refuse to be its slave. They know there's always a choice between emotion and action, and the most crucial choice is silence. Epictetus said that to test your strength, see how long you can stay silent when insulted. Silence doesn't mean defeat. It means you're delaying reaction to make room for awareness. Only when you refrain from speaking can you observe what's really happening inside. Are you angry because you're hurt? Because you feel devalued? Or simply because you feel out of control? Silence gives you the chance to hear the truth beneath the surface of your anger. In many situations, choosing not to respond immediately can completely change the outcome. Imagine someone makes a biting remark. Your instinct is to retaliate, perhaps with sharp words or a cold attitude. But if you stay silent for a few seconds, you give your initial emotion time to pass. Then you might respond with a question, an understanding glance, or even a gentle smile. This not only keeps you calm, but also disarms the other person who can't escalate if you don't react as expected. In the Stoic world, this isn't endurance, it's victory. Silence also protects relationships. Many times, a careless word spoken in anger causes deeper harm than actions. Some apologies can't erase the wounds of thoughtless speech. Wise people practice silence not because they lack arguments, but because they value something greater: trust, respect, connection. Sometimes silence is the only way to make space for calm to return. However, mastering silence in anger requires practice. You can't just decide to stay silent and expect it to work. Like any skill, it needs daily training, starting with small moments. When someone cuts you off in line, interrupts you, or misunderstands you, choose silence instead of reacting. Take a deep breath, feel your body, observe your emotions. Ask yourself, is this really important? Do I need to speak now? What happens if I stay silent? These questions aren't about avoidance. They're about approaching the situation with greater clarity. Stoics also teach that silence isn't evasion. After anger subsides, you can still speak. But then, you speak from reason, not impulse. When you speak from balance, your words carry more weight. You don't need to shout to prove a point. You've already mastered yourself, and that's the truest sign of inner strength. Think of a recent moment when you said something in anger. Did you regret it? Would a few seconds of silence have changed things? If so, you can start anew today. The next time anger rises, you don't need to beat it. Just stay silent long enough to keep it from beating you. If this section helps you reflect, hit like as a commitment to practice timely silence. Share in a comment a time you wish you hadn't reacted so quickly, not to feel shame, but to learn. And if you want to continue forging emotional intelligence and inner strength with Stoic principles, subscribe to stay updated with vital tools. By learning to stay silent at the right moment, you're already far along the path to never losing your calm again. Number 2, make not getting angry. A mental challenge, negative emotions, especially anger, often arise as a natural reflex. When insulted, you want to strike back. When disrespected, you want to retaliate. Many see an angry response as proof of strength. But what if you viewed anger through a different lens, as a challenge, a game, or even a mental workout? By reframing not getting angry as a goal to conquer daily, you approach it in a fresh, empowering way. Instead of seeing anger as inevitable, you turn staying calm into a test of inner strength you're eager to master. Stoic philosophy teaches that every difficult situation is an opportunity. Epictetus called these raw materials for training. Just as iron must be heated and hammered to become strong, your mind needs challenges to grow. Anger is one of the toughest tests. Rather than fearing, avoiding, or surrendering to it, you can view each moment you stay calm as a small victory. As you tally these wins daily, emotions lose their grip. You become someone who actively chooses responses, not someone defeated by feelings. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone rudely interrupts you. Normally, you'd feel slighted and might raise your voice or show attitude to reclaim space. But if you see it as today's challenge, a test of emotional control, you shift perspective. You think, can I keep my tone steady? Can I respond with maturity instead of emotion? When you succeed, you've won. No applause is needed. The reward is a stronger inner self, no longer easily manipulated by others' actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "See each difficulty as training for your mind, a chance to apply the philosophy you've learned, not just talk about it." This is the mindset of a mental warrior. They don't wish for an easier world. They wish to be strong enough to face any challenge without losing calm. This isn't a distant ideal. It starts in everyday moments, being cut off in traffic, a loved one's hurtful comment, or an online slight. Each is a test, and you're your own grader. Turning calm into an inner game gives another advantage. It helps you take situations less seriously. Humor can be a powerful weapon against anger. Try telling yourself, "Oh, another test? Looks like the universe is cranking up the difficulty today." This perspective detaches you from emotion, like a player stepping back from a game character. You observe, analyze, and respond with clarity, not blindly swept into an emotional vortex. Track your score daily. Say you faced 3 anger-triggering situations today. You stayed calm in 2, slipped in 1. Note it. Aim to win all 3 tomorrow. Next week, raise the stakes. Stay calm, not just outwardly, but inwardly. No more mentally bad-mouthing others. No lingering resentment, even if unexpressed. This is inner cleansing, not just surface control. It reveals a truth. You don't need grand gestures to become calm. You just need to practice like a martial artist, patiently, consistently, with clear intent. One caveat, you don't need perfection. You'll still get angry or react sometimes. That's not failure, it's data for your next lesson. Stoics aren't immune to wavering. They're the quickest to recover. Each anger is a test. Each calm moment is a point earned. Viewing life this way fuels motivation to slow down, think deeply, and act kindly. Not for praise, but to build a self you're proud to see in the mirror. If this idea inspires you, hit like to mark your first step in making calm your mental game. Share in the comments a recent situation where you stayed calm or didn't and what you learned. Subscribe if you want more exercises, tools, and strategies to grow steadier, bit by bit, as Stoics train their minds amid life's storms. Number 3, accept the reality of life and people. One of the root causes of losing our calm is holding unrealistic expectations about the world and the people around us. You expect others to always be polite, plans to go perfectly, and everyone to share your values, perspectives, and behaviors. When life doesn't meet these expectations, you feel hurt, react, and lose control. The problem isn't the world, it's that you're fighting a reality you refuse to accept. Stoic philosophy emphasizes a critical truth. You can't master your emotions if you don't master your expectations. The only way to do that is to accept reality as it is, without rose-colored glasses, without vilifying it, without illusions. Marcus Aurelius wrote that each morning, you should remind yourself you'll encounter selfish, ignorant, petty, arrogant, deceitful, or ungrateful people. This sounds pessimistic, but it's a brilliantly practical psychological strategy. By preparing for the worst, he avoided shock, anger, or disappointment when it happened. He didn't expect the world to be perfectly fair or people to always be kind. This acceptance allowed him to remain calm while leading a chaotic empire. When you accept that people are a complex mix of good and bad, noble and flawed, rational and instinctive, you stop demanding they act the right way. You realize their disappointing behavior is normal, even inevitable. Instead of letting disappointment consume you, you can smile and think, I saw this coming. Lower expectations lead to less anger. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It's not about letting others treat you poorly without response. It's about awareness. You're not surprised or overly reactive, but you can still act to protect yourself, whether by walking away, setting boundaries, or disengaging. The difference is you do so calmly, not impulsively. That's what separates someone driven by emotion from someone guided by reason. Take a simple example. You're driving and someone rudely cuts you off. If you expect everyone should drive courteously, you'll feel insulted. You might honk, yell, or even chase them to retaliate. But if you accept that some drivers are reckless, you won't be shocked. You'll calmly brake, avoid them, and continue your journey without wasting energy. This isn't passivity, it's a high form of agency, choosing to preserve your inner peace. The same applies to relationships. You expect your partner to always understand you, friends to always be there, or family to love you exactly as you want. But everyone carries different values, histories, and emotional tools. They can't always meet your standards. When you accept that others weren't born to fit your mold, you stop getting angry when they mess up. Instead, you understand they're struggling, learning, and fumbling just like you. Accepting reality also reduces self-blame. How often have you felt inadequate for failing to control others? Or lost sleep thinking, I should have done something to change that situation? The truth is, you can't control others, fix everything, or make life bend to your will. Letting go of that illusion of control brings immense relief. You start focusing on the one thing you can change, how you perceive and respond to what happens. Stoics don't accept reality to stand still. They accept it to act better. They accept to avoid wasting emotions on what's uncontrollable. They accept to prepare their minds for reality, then craft the most rational response. This quiet strength doesn't make you look powerful instantly, but it makes you unshakable amid the world's chaos. If you've lost your calm because others didn't act as you hoped, here's the turning point. Adjust your expectations. Write down everything you want from others, then ask, which of these are in my control? The answer might surprise you. From there, you'll live lighter, freer, and stronger. If this video shifts how you view people in life, hit like to acknowledge your step forward in awareness. Share in a comment a recent situation where misplaced expectations fueled your anger and what you learned. Subscribe to continue this journey of living calmly, wisely, and mindfully in an ever-changing world. Number 4, don't take things personally. One of the main reasons we get hurt or lose our calm is because we're too quick to take things personally. Someone gives you a cold look and you assume they hate you. Someone declines to help and you think they're looking down on you. A sincere critique feels like condemnation. A casual slight feels like an attack. When you believe everything revolves around you, you live in a constant state of defensiveness, suspicion, and volatility. But the truth is, most of what others say or do isn't about you. It's a reflection of their inner world, which you can't control and don't need to. Stoic philosophy stresses that no one can harm you unless you allow it to happen in your mind. Epictetus said you're not offended by others' words, but by how you interpret them. If a stranger calls you by a name you don't recognize, you don't react. But if they use your name with an insult, you feel attacked. Why? Because you tie your identity to it. You think it's aimed at you. If you learn to detach yourself from others' actions, you'll see negative emotions aren't inevitable. They're a choice. Don't confuse listening with personalizing. You can absorb feedback and observe behavior without assuming it defines your worth. When someone snaps at you, they might be angry at their own life. When someone has no time for you, they could be overwhelmed by their own struggles. Even if someone intends to hurt you, your reaction remains your choice. You can choose anger, or you can choose understanding, or even indifference. Stoics never let others control their inner emotions. They train to step back from immediate feelings, discerning truth from knee-jerk reactions. Personalizing everything leads to constant anxiety and stress. You enter a room, someone doesn't greet you, and you think they dislike you. You send a text that goes unanswered, and you feel abandoned. But if you view things objectively, you might see they're tired, focused, or dealing with unseen pain. When you stop placing yourself at the center of every story, you feel lighter. Life doesn't revolve around you, and that's freeing. It releases you from the burden of pleasing everyone, the fear of judgment, and the anger when others don't meet your expectations. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if others act wrongly toward you, that's their issue. Your job is to uphold your principles. You can't force others to act right, but you can choose not to let their behavior corrupt you. The more you personalize, the more you cast yourself as a victim. Stoics choose to be observers, distant enough to avoid being swept by emotion, yet close enough to understand what's happening. Recall a recent time you got angry, thinking someone meant to hurt you, only to later realize it wasn't intentional. That feeling, regretting an overreaction due to a misunderstanding, is a valuable lesson. It will keep repeating until you learn to separate yourself from others' actions. Not because you don't care, but because you're mature enough to let truth, not assumptions, guide your emotions. A simple practice to stop personalizing. When emotions rise, ask, is this really about me? Do I have clear evidence, or is it just my interpretation? If I were an outsider, how would I see this? These questions make you step back, and in that moment, you reclaim control. You're no longer a victim of emotion. You're choosing your perspective, and with that, you're free. From now on, remember, not every glance, word, or action targets you. Most people act from their own world center, where you're a tiny part, or not even present. Getting angry because they don't meet your expectations proves you're overestimating your place in their minds. But if you're humble enough to see everyone's grappling with their own struggles, you'll hurt less, feel lighter, and stay calmer. If this message makes you reflect, hit like as your first step to stop personalizing everything. Share in a comment a recent situation where you felt offended, but later saw it was a misunderstanding. And to keep learning practical Stoic tools for a calm, clear life, subscribe for more, where every emotion is understood and no one controls your mind but you. Number 5, anger never solves anything. Anger often feels like a wildfire, igniting quickly, giving a fleeting sense of power and control. When you're angry, it seems like you're doing something to fix a problem, reclaim justice, or protect your wounded ego. But what do you gain when the flames die down? A heated argument, a fractured relationship, regret for words you shouldn't have said, or even deeper pain for yourself and others. The irony is, anger tricks you into thinking it's solving the issue, but it silently destroys your ability to handle things effectively. Stoics long ago saw this truth. Anger isn't strength, it's the failure of reason. Epictetus said no one becomes better through anger. You can shout, slam doors, or argue relentlessly, but it won't make you more convincing, earn more respect, or bring you closer to peace. In fact, most of life's worst decisions are made in anger. In that state, you don't think, you react. And when reason is absent, consequences follow. You might believe anger is necessary to show seriousness or to prove you're not a pushover. But what you truly need isn't anger. It's resolve, clarity, and firmness. You can set boundaries without yelling. You can say no calmly. You can express displeasure without attacking. Calmness doesn't weaken you. It makes you more credible. The person who loses their temper is rarely heard. The one who's calm yet steadfast leaves a lasting impact. Think back to the last time you got angry. Once it passed, did you feel you'd solved anything? Or just tired, empty, even ashamed? That feeling isn't a sign of failure. It's a reminder that anger never takes you where you want to go. Stoics saw anger as self-punishment. You burn yourself hoping someone else gets scorched, but the damage often boomerangs back. Worse, anger's ripple effects are bigger than you think. A wrong word can kill trust. An impulsive act can ruin years of connection. Marcus Aurelius often wrote in his journal to reject anger like poison. He knew letting it win meant losing himself. If an emperor with absolute power chose to restrain anger because it was futile, we ordinary people have even more reason to let it go to preserve something far greater. Clarity. To be clear, rejecting anger doesn't mean inaction. Stoics don't advocate enduring, tolerating, or ignoring wrong. They urge action from reason, not emotion. If someone deceives you, you can end the relationship without rage. If someone disrespects you, you can state your stance and set limits without shouting. Reason-driven actions carry far more weight because they're purposeful, not swayed by fleeting emotions. A skill to practice is turning anger into constructive action. When anger rises, write, what is this anger signaling? Are you feeling violated? Out of control? Hurt? Identifying the root makes anger less daunting. It's just a signal. Use that signal to adjust behavior, set boundaries, or improve communication. You're channeling anger's energy to build, not destroy. If anger still feels hard to tame, step away briefly, take deep breaths, or ask, will this reaction help me? This simple question disrupts autopilot responses. Each time you choose not to get angry, you train your brain that you have options. Over time, you'll grow stronger, not because you shout louder, but because you stay calm when others unravel. If this message resonates, hit like to declare, I choose calm over anger. Share in a comment a time you reacted in anger and what you learned, and subscribe to keep building unshakable calm with practical Stoic tools, where timely silence can outweigh the loudest words. Number 6, let go of resentment and grudges. Nothing destroys inner peace faster than resentment. When you hold on to grudges, memories of those who hurt you, or unresolved stories, you're not just recalling the past, you're living in it. Each time you dwell on that person, that moment, that pain, you let it replay in your mind, gnawing at you again. Stoics long recognized that resentment doesn't punish the other person, it punishes you. You carry the past like a backpack full of stones, heavy and useless except for exhausting you. Letting go isn't about excusing wrongdoing. It's about reclaiming your freedom. Epictetus said we suffer not because of what happened, but because we keep clutching it in our minds. Imagine someone insulted, betrayed, or deeply hurt you. That pain is real, and you're entitled to feel it. But what's unnecessary and harmful is letting that moment live in your head year after year. The other person may have forgotten, moved on, or stopped caring. Yet you hold on to it as proof you were wronged. In truth, what you're holding isn't justice. It's a burden weighing down your mind daily. Marcus Aurelius advised seeing others' actions as part of the world's nature. Just as trees fall in storms, people err, speak hurtfully, or act thoughtlessly when ignorant or hurting themselves. This perspective stops you from personalizing pain. You no longer see betrayal as a targeted attack, but as the result of their emotions, choices, and limitations, things beyond your control. This doesn't justify their actions, but it frees you from poisoning yourself with endless anger and hatred. Resentment creates a vicious cycle. The more you hold on, the more you relive the pain. You retell the story to yourself, friends, family, each retelling reopening the wound. You might use anger to fuel ambition, success, or revenge, but you're driven by a toxic force. Stoics knew that motivation rooted in hatred is blind. It doesn't lead to peace. It only drains you, tethering your energy to something you should leave behind. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or condoning wrong. It's a conscious choice. I won't give that person another second in my mind. I won't live another day controlled by the past. When you do this, you feel unshackled, lighter, freer. For the first time in ages, you breathe like someone truly free. Understand this. Forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for you. Stoics don't say you must reconcile with everyone, erase memories, or deny emotions. They say if what you're holding serves no positive purpose, learn to set it down. Forgiveness is the highest act of self-mastery, requiring you to rise above a wounded ego, the urge for revenge, and the sense of injustice. It's choosing peace over victory, and sometimes that's the greatest victory. A simple way to start letting go is to write down what you're still holding. Name the person, their actions, your feelings, unfiltered. Then ask, is this still useful to me? If not, imagine burning the paper. No need to tell anyone or make it public. In that moment, you've chosen peace. You can also remind yourself each morning, today I choose not to carry yesterday's anger. This isn't denying emotions. It's refusing to let old feelings ruin a new day. With consistent practice, you'll feel lighter, no longer dragged back by the past or trapped in old stories. You'll respond with clarity instead of reacting with agitation, free instead of imprisoned by history. If this message touches you, hit like to signal you're ready to release what no longer serves you. Share in a comment something you're learning to forgive, someone else or yourself. And to continue this journey with powerful Stoic tools, subscribe for more, where you'll not only master emotions but live lightly, strongly, and freely from within. Number 7. Apply the ACD model to reframe how you interpret events. One of the core reasons we overreact, get angry, or feel hurt is that we don't respond to events themselves, but to our interpretations of them. When someone doesn't reply to your message, the objective event is simply no response. Yet interpretations vary wildly. Some think, they hate me, others, they're probably busy, or I'm not important. The same event sparks countless conclusions, and those conclusions drive our emotions. Stoics understood this deeply, emphasizing the practice of refining how you perceive things. A simple, powerful tool you can use daily is the ACD model. Activating event, consequence, disputation, or in plain terms, event, emotional outcome, and challenging the thought. The ACD model, rooted in modern cognitive behavioral therapy, aligns with ancient Stoic principles. Epictetus said, "We're not disturbed by what happens, but by our thoughts about it." This is the model's essence. A. Activating event. Something triggers you, like being ignored in a conversation. C. Consequence. The emotional fallout. You feel hurt, angry, or assume they're dismissing you. The critical step is D. Disputation. You challenge the thought. Ask, is there another explanation? Do I have evidence for this belief? Am I assuming too much? Using ACD isn't just a mental exercise. It's a way to protect your emotional well-being. It helps you step back from knee-jerk reactions, giving you space to view events rationally. With regular practice, you'll realize most negative emotions don't stem from others or circumstances, but from the stories you tell yourself. By rewriting those stories, you can shift your emotions instantly. Take a concrete example. You send an important presentation to your boss and get no reply all day. A. Event, no response. C. Consequence. You feel anxious, insecure, thinking your work isn't good enough or you're being judged. But at D, disputation, you ask, is my boss just busy? Have they even read it yet? Maybe they need time to review. This reframing adjusts your perspective, and the magic is your emotions follow. You feel calmer, no longer spiraling in baseless worry. The ACD model shines in everyday moments where you're prone to misinterpretation, hurt, or unnecessary reactions. A puzzling glance, a curt text, a tactless comment. These can all spark a reaction if you don't train yourself to think twice. That's the Stoic ideal. Not living by reflex, but by reflection. Not letting emotions lead, but letting reason guide. Practicing ACD also uncovers long-standing flawed thinking patterns. You might notice you often assume, I'm not good enough, others are out to hurt me, or I must please everyone to be loved. As you apply ACD, these thoughts surface repeatedly, giving you a chance to reshape core beliefs, not by denying them, but by challenging them logically. For instance, actually, I worked hard, and this delay isn't a judgment. Or, they may be upset, but that doesn't mean I'm worthless. A practical tip: each day, write down 3 instances using the ACD model. What event unsettled you? What emotions followed? What thought can you dispute to shift your perspective? A few minutes daily, and within weeks, you'll grow clearer, calmer, and less swayed by automatic thoughts. You'll choose constructive interpretations over self-destructive ones. Stoics don't urge you to become unfeeling. They urge you to choose your lens. ACD is your tool for that. When you're about to react negatively, pause and ask, is this the only truth? Is there another way to see it? Does this emotion come from the event or my misinterpretation? These simple questions are powerful enough to pull you out of reaction mode and into a space of choice. If the ACD model feels like a tool you can use today, hit like to commit to practicing it daily. Share in a comment a recent negative moment and try reframing it with ACD. Writing it out might be your first step to healing. And if the Stoic journey of inner growth resonates, subscribe for more practical, profound lessons where every emotion can be transformed simply by seeing it differently. Number 8, be aware of what happens in your body. Many believe anger is just an emotion in the mind, but it starts in the body. The body is where emotions first manifest, often before you're consciously aware. When anger begins, your heart races, facial muscles tense, fists clench, throat heats up, breath shortens, and you might feel your whole body bracing for a fight. This is your body's survival response, reacting instinctively to a perceived threat, real or imagined, without regard for right or wrong or reason. Recognizing these physical signals is the first step to controlling anger and reclaiming calm. Stoic philosophy stresses that mastering emotions begins with observing yourself, and the body is the most direct place to start. Epictetus taught that you must learn to step outside yourself and observe like an outsider. This sounds abstract, but it's practical when you focus on your body's cues. Imagine you're in a heated discussion and someone says something offensive. Before your mind can respond with words, your body speaks. Clenched fists, gritted teeth, a burning stomach, or a tightening chest. If you miss these signals, you'll slide into an emotional reaction, yelling, criticizing, or storming off. But if you notice, my body's reacting, you create a vital gap between stimulus and response. That gap, just a few seconds, is your chance to pause, breathe, and choose a response over a reflex. Stoics don't dodge emotions. They approach them with clear-eyed observation. Your body isn't the enemy, it's your most honest ally, always signaling when you're nearing loss of control, if you listen. But in a noisy, rushed world, we've forgotten how to hear our bodies. We live in our heads, screens, and schedules, ignoring that every emotional state begins with a physical shift. Start practicing with small steps. Each day, take a few minutes to sit quietly and scan your body from head to toe. Are you clenching your jaw? Are your shoulders tight? Are your hands balled up? Is your breathing shallow or deep? These subtle cues reveal your state. If you're stressed, slow your breath. If you're angry, relax your body before speaking. These aren't advanced yoga or meditation techniques. They're practical Stoic tools used for millennia to manage emotions. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often noted his body's changes during anger, the burning in his chest, the tightening of his jaw, using them as warnings. If the body is rebelling, reason must step in. He didn't force himself to be calm. He stepped back, observed, then decided. This awareness kept him from acting impulsively, even as an emperor who could order executions in a fit of rage. You too are the sole ruler of yourself, though not a king. To govern well, you must know when your inner kingdom is unsettled. Identify the unique physical signs that signal your anger. Everyone's biological map differs. Some flush red, others feel their heart pound, some get a lump in their throat. Knowing these lets you catch yourself drifting from calm and pull back before saying or doing something regrettable. A powerful method to strengthen the emotion-body link is combining breathing with acknowledgement. When emotions surge, place a hand on your chest or stomach, breathe deeply and say to yourself, "I'm feeling hot, tense, out of control, but this is temporary, it will pass." Naming the emotion while feeling the body heightens awareness and weakens the emotion's grip. You're telling your brain there's no real danger, just a biological flare-up. A few mindful breaths can restore your control. If you often react before thinking, the root may be a lack of bodily awareness. This is something you can train day by day with patience and observation. Listening to your body is listening to yourself. It's hearing the alarm before it becomes a storm. If this section clarifies the emotion-body connection, hit like to commit to practicing inner observation. Share in a comment a physical sign you notice when angry, to recognize, learn, and grow together, and to keep building inner strength practically and sustainably. Subscribe for the next parts. Calm doesn't start with words, it starts with breath, with every cell speaking within you. Number 9, be selective with who deserves your attention. Your attention is one of your most precious assets. What you focus on, think about, react to, or invest time and emotion in reflects how you spend your attention, much like money. But while money can be earned back, attention is a non-renewable resource each day. You wake up with a finite attention budget. If you squander it on unworthy people, pointless arguments, vague criticisms, or draining situations, you'll end the day exhausted, stressed, and quick to anger over trivial matters. Stoic philosophy recognizes this and urges, don't let your mind become a dumping ground for others' emotions. Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily, what truly deserves my attention today? This simple question holds immense power. By carefully choosing what merits your focus, you reshape how you respond to life. You'll stop being drawn into online spats, negative gossip, or people who sap your energy. You'll return to yourself, choosing calm as a deliberate act. The truth is, not everyone deserves your response. Some people thrive on provoking, manipulating, or testing others' emotional limits, not because they hate you, but because it's how they navigate life. They haven't mastered their inner world, so they try to unsettle yours. Without a filter, you'll be led astray by their actions or words, wondering why you're always anxious, tired, or angry. Stoics prevent this by building an emotional defense system that starts with one question: is this person worth it? This isn't arrogance or coldness, it's wisdom. Reflect on those you've poured energy into proving yourself to, arguing with, or pleasing, only to find it yielded nothing but disappointment. People who seek flaws instead of effort, criticize instead of advise, or make you doubt yourself rather than inspire growth. You weren't weak, you just misplaced your attention. You can't always control who enters your life, colleagues, family, strangers, but you can control your response. You can choose not to reply. You can smile and walk away. You can stay silent. In these small choices, you preserve your most valuable asset, inner peace. By not reacting to everything, you reaffirm your inner strength, that you don't need external validation to feel whole. You just need to know what truly matters. A practical exercise each evening: note 3 situations that upset, angered, or frustrated you. Ask, Was this worth my attention? If not, visualize tearing it from your mind like scrap paper and tossing it away. Repeat this mental act until you feel lighter. You don't need to internalize everything. You weren't born to carry others' emotions. They're responsible for their minds. You're responsible for your peace. Choosing your attention wisely means breaking reactive habits. You'll respond based on values, not reflex. You'll engage with people who inspire, consume content that uplifts, stay silent when words won't improve things, and act from steadiness, not fear of being misjudged. The less you focus on trivialities, the more mental space you'll have to live deeply, kindly, and joyfully. If you've ever felt drained from handling unworthy situations, remember, you don't need to respond to everything. Not every remark needs an answer. Not every action demands a reaction. Not every person requires your effort to prove something. Sometimes doing nothing is the ultimate act of control. If this message sharpens your focus on where to place your energy, hit like to remind yourself, I choose what deserves my attention. Share in a comment a recent moment when you let go at the right time and how it brought you peace. And to keep building emotional resilience with Stoic principles, subscribe for more practical tools, where you learn to choose each response like an artist selects each brushstroke on the canvas of life. Number 10. Use gratitude as a tool against anger. In moments of anger, frustration, offense, or injustice, try asking a seemingly counterintuitive question: what in this situation can I be grateful for? This isn't naive optimism. It's a disciplined practice of finding the positive even in adversity. Stoics understood gratitude not as a spontaneous emotion, but as a way of life built through choice. Remarkably, gratitude and anger cannot coexist in the same moment. When you're truly grateful, you can't simultaneously be furious or resentful. Gratitude is a natural antidote to anger. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling a turbulent empire, wrote in his journal about what he was grateful for: another day to live, lessons from mistakes, opportunities to grow through challenges. These weren't empty platitudes, but a method to avoid being consumed by negativity. He knew that fixating on what's wrong traps you in a victim mindset. Shifting focus to what's still good pulls you out of the spiral of resentment and discontent. When someone mistreats you, instead of reacting instantly, ask, what can this teach me? Maybe it shows you need clearer boundaries. Maybe it reminds you that you've given too much without reflection. Or perhaps it's simply a chance to practice patience. Finding something to be grateful for reframes the situation, not as a loss, but as part of your growth. Anger fades, not because you're passive, but because you've shifted your perception. Gratitude also anchors you in the present. Anger drags you to the past, replaying what was lost, offended, or unfair. Gratitude keeps you here now with what you still have. Sometimes just recognizing you have health, freedom, or the power to choose your response is enough to keep you from losing yourself in a fleeting emotion. You can't control others, but you can control what you focus on. Gratitude is the fastest way to shift from lack to abundance, from resentment to peace. A simple Stoic practice is keeping a nightly gratitude journal. No grand gestures needed. Just write 3 things you're grateful for each day: a pleasant conversation, a sunny afternoon, or a moment you didn't react in anger. Over time, your mind rewires to notice the positive. When your brain is trained to seek the good, anger has less room to take hold. You're no longer in an emotional deficit, but living in inner abundance. Gratitude also fosters humility. When you're thankful for learning from failure, for chances to grow, or for past support, you stop seeing yourself as the universe's center. This makes you less hurt by others' actions. You realize they, like you, are grappling with their own lives. Gratitude becomes a bridge, not to criticism, but to understanding. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. You don't thank someone for hurting you. But you can be grateful for recognizing your limits, learning to prioritize your values, or choosing to live well despite others' failings. Gratitude doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you. A grateful person sees the path ahead, even through darkness. If you're often irritable, frustrated, or quick to lose control, start small. Each morning, note one thing you're grateful for: a hot coffee, a restful sleep, or the quiet of dawn. Treat this habit as an emotional anti-inflammatory. Soon you'll find your mind less swayed by trivialities and your heart lighter, unburdened by pointless anger. If this message stirs something in you, hit like as a gesture of gratitude for yourself, for choosing not to let anger rule. Share in a comment one small thing you're grateful for today: a glance, a kind word, or simply your presence. And to explore more simple yet profound tools for staying calm in a chaotic world, subscribe to join this inner journey, where you learn to live with an open heart, even in the most trying moments. Calmness isn't a gift you're born with. It's a skill, a choice, something you can train daily until it becomes a natural part of how you live. You won't become calm overnight, but if today you start observing yourself, choose silence over arguing, or practice gratitude instead of complaining, you're already different. No fanfare needed, no declarations required. Just keep going. You don't need to change the world. You just need to master your reactions to it. If you've watched this far, I believe you share that desire: a calmer, emotionally wiser, and stronger life. So don't let this video be a fleeting moment. Pick one lesson and apply it. Right now, if you found this video valuable, hit like to share it with others. Comment with what resonated most or a change you'll make today. And subscribe to continue this journey of building calm, wisdom, and emotional resilience, a path Stoics walked over 2,000 years ago and one you're stepping onto today.